Okay, so ang topic natin is risk management. So ano ba ang definition of risk management? Risk management is the process of measuring or assessing risk and developing strategies to manage it. So this definition of risk management though, it involves the systematic process of identifying, assessing, and managing risk to minimize their impact on an organization's objectives. So for instance na lang no, sa isang construction company na meron siyang new project. So it would conduct a risk assessment in able to identify potential hazards such as yung mga adverse weather conditions, delays in materials delivery, or safety issues. So by identifying this risk early on, so ang mangyayari dyan, yung company natin, they can develop strategies to mitigate them and ensure the successful completion of the project within the budget and syempre within the time frame of the project. So sabi dito sa slide, sa second paragraph natin, risk management is the systematic approach in identifying, analyzing, and controlling areas or events with a potential for causing unwanted change. Risk management is the act or practice of controlling risk. So dito, kung makikita natin dito no, yung components of risk management. Sabi dito, it is a systematic approach. Kasi nga, yung risk management natin, it encompasses yung mga several key components. Kasali dyan yung risk identification, risk control, and risk monitoring. For example na lang no, sa isang financial institution na nag-conduct ng risk management activities. So they would identify various types of risk it faces along the way, no, such as yung mga credit risk natin, market risk, and then pwede rin yung mga operational risk. So after they identify yung mga various types of risk na yan, they will analyze each risk to assess its potential impact and likelihood of occurrence within their organization. So, based on this analysis later on, the financial institutions, syempre, they would implement controls and mitigation strategies in able to manage and reduce this risk. No? So, for instance, no, these strategies may include, kunyari, yung pag-diversify natin ng mga investment, pag-implement ng internal controls, or pag-purchase ng mga insurance coverage. Okay? So, dito, sabi rin dito sa slide natin, it includes risk planning, assessing risk areas, developing risk handling options, monitoring risk to determine how risks have changed, and documenting overall risk management program. So, dito yung risk management process natin. No? Na yung risk management process natin, it involves yung mga several stages. No, starting with the risk planning and followed by risk assessment, risk handling, and risk monitoring and documentation. No? For instance, kunyari, sa isang pharmaceutical company na nag-develop ng new drug or bagong gamot, no? It would begin by planning its risk management approach. So, including dito yung pag-identify ng mga potential risks related to the drug development, and then yung mga regulatory approval natin and market acceptance. And then after nyan, no, yung company natin, they would then assess yung mga risk na yan, mag-develop ng strategies to mitigate them, and then such as yung pag-conduct ng mga clinical trials para ma-ensure yung safety and efficacy. And then, kailangan din nila mag-obtain ng mga regulatory approvals and monitoring ng drugs performance in the market. So, throughout this process, guys, no, yung company na yan, yung drug company na yan, they would document its risk management activities and able to ensure yung transparency and accountability. No? So, yan yung risk management natin, guys. So, in summary, no, kung titingnan natin, yung risk management natin, critical aspect yan siya ng organizational governance, no? Kasi nakaka-help ito sa business, sa isang business organization na i-anticipate at i-address yung mga potential threats to their objectives, no? So, syempre, by systematically identifying, by systematically analyzing, and systematically controlling the risk, no? Syempre, yung organization natin, they can enhance their resilience sa organization nila at ma-enhance nila yung pag-safeguard ng kanilang assets at ma-improve nila yung decision-making process nila along the way. Okay? Naintindihan yung risk management? Okay, so according to International Organization of Standardization or ISO 31000, no? So dito, it talks about the risk management is the identification, assessment, and prioritization of risk, followed by coordinated and economical application of resources to minimize, monitor, and control the probability and or impact of unfortunate events and to maximize the realization of opportunities. Okay. So dito, sa risk management natin dito, it involves yung identification natin. So, dapat in identification process natin, syempre, i-recognize natin and i-understand natin yung potential risk that could affect the organization's objective. And then after that, may assessment tayo, no? I-evaluate sa assessment, after ma-identify natin yung risk, i-assess na natin, no? Evaluate natin yung mga nature and yung mga likelihood of this identified risk. Then after that, we will prioritize na. Yung prioritization natin, syempre, irarank natin yung risk na na-identify natin at na-assess natin based on their significance and potential impact on the organization's objectives. So, for instance dito, no, meron kasi dito sa risk management na nabanggit natin kanina, meron tayo itong coordinated and economical application, no, of resources. So dito, dapat may coordinated allocation of resources na involved dito sa ating strategic and organized approach to deploy assets effectively. Yung economical use of resources kasi, it implies na na-optimize natin yung use of time, yung money, and other resources natin to achieve the best risk management outcomes within our organization. Okay, kung makikita natin dito, sabi pa dito, so ito yung kanina, yung economical application of resources. Sabi niya, to minimize, monitor, and control the probability and or impact of unfortunate events. Kasi sa pag-minimize natin, di ba? Through minimizing the risk, syempre, mag-implement tayo ng mga measures to reduce the likelihood of identified risk. And then upon the monitoring of risk natin, i-keep natin we will continuously watch, no? We will keep continuously watching yung pag-evolve ng risk natin within the organization at i-assist yung changes ng risk na yan. And then sa pag-control naman ng mga probability or impact, no, of an unfortunate events, no, with yung mga risk na yan, syempre mag-take tayo ng mga proactive steps to manage and mitigate risk as they arise. And then sabi din dito, and to maximize the realization of opportunities. Kasi in recognizing that risk, no, within the organization, kasi yung recognizing the risk inside the organization, no, is not only about threats, no, but also about opportunities for improvement and growth of the organization. Kasi strategically, no, managing risk, no, is important within the organization. Kasi syempre, through strategically managing the risk, ma-harness natin yung potential positive outcomes and ma-maximize natin yung organization's success. So, kasi dito sa ISO 31000, guys, no, it provides yung comprehensive definition of risk management. Ine-emphasize nito yung systematic approach that involves yung identifying, assessing, and prioritizing risk, no. Ang goal kasi nito is to strategically allocate resources to minimize, monitor, and control the impact and probability of adverse events while capitalizing on opportunities for positive outcomes. Okay, so yan yung ating ISO 31000. Okay, now let's proceed to basic principles of risk management. Okay, kung makikita natin dito, sa risk management should first, basic principles of risk management to, guys, ha. So sabi dito, first, risk management should create value. Resources spent to mitigate risk should be less than the consequences of inaction. Kasi dito, paano ba makakapag-create value? Siyempre, yung mga resources na spent natin on mitigating risk should be justified by the potential consequences of not taking action. So in other words, the benefit of risk management should outweigh its cost. So second, address uncertainty and assumptions. So acknowledge natin and i-deal natin yung mga uncertainties in the environment. So identifying and challenging yung mga assumptions, no, ay important ito sa pag-understand natin kung paano natin ma-manage yung risk effectively within the organization. And then third, be integral part of the organizational process and decision making. So, dito, yung risk management natin, dapat integrate natin yung risk management into into the organization's practices, operations. Kasi ma-ensure natin that through that, no, it becomes a fundamental aspect, no, ng decision making process at all levels of the organization. So kasi ang pag-manage kasi ng risk hindi pwede na isang level lang ng isang department lang. Dapat lahat sabay-sabayan sila, no? Unti-unti natin yan i-integrate sa operation ng ating organization. Hanggang sa lahat na, no, maging strong na yung risk management process. Maging integral to the organization's processes and decision making na ang ating risk management practices. Okay, fourth, be dynamic, iterative, transparent, tailorable, and responsive to change, no? So, siyempre dito, kung sinabi nating dynamic, dapat i-recognize natin that the risk landscape within our organization is constantly evolving. And also, yung risk management process natin should adapt accordingly. So, iterative, siyempre, repeat the risk management process, no, as circumstances change or new information becomes available. So, dapat kayang mag-adapt yung ating risk management process kung ano yung nangyayari within the organization, hindi na kung ano lang yung ginagawa natin ngayon, natatakot tayong i-change yung practices. So, dapat adaptable siya. Okay? Next is transparent. No? Dapat i-communicate natin openly about the risk and risk management strategies within the organization, and then tailorable. Pwede natin i-customize yung risk management process natin to suit the specific needs and characteristics of the organization. And lastly, yung ating responsive to change. Siyempre, dapat be flexible and responsive to changes yung ating risk management practices, no? Yung dapat, di ba, sabi ko, be flexible and responsive yung ating risk management practices in the internal and external environment of the organization. Okay, fifth, we have create a capability of continual improvement and enhancing considering the best available information and human factors. So, dito, yung establish tayo ng culture of continuous improvement in risk management. So, learn from experience, syempre, and use natin yung best available information considering yung mga human factors natin that may influence the risk. Okay, and number 6, we have be systematic, structured, and continually or periodically reassess. So, systematic, no? Paano natin masasabing systematic? Dapat mag-follow tayo ng mga structured and organized approach to identify, assess, and manage risk. And then, structured. Kapag sinabi natin structured, mag-implement tayo ng well-defined framework for risk management system, no, that aligns with organizational objectives. And lastly, we have continually or periodically reassess. So, syempre, dapat may regular review tayo. And i-reassess natin yung effectiveness of risk management processes, enable for us to ensure na yung ating risk management practice remains relevant and aligned with our organizational goals. And syempre, di ba, when we continually or periodically reassess yung ating risk management, so, makakapag-adapt siya kung ano man yung nangyayari currently yung sa ating organization. Kasi yung regular review natin, no? And pag reassess natin, kailangan yan siya. Okay, so kung makikita natin guys, no? dito sa risk management basic principles natin, no? This principle, syempre, it collectively contribute, no, to a robust and proactive risk management framework within our organization, no? It helps the organization to navigate yung mga uncertainties and enhance their ability, no, to achieve objectives. Okay, next is we have process of risk management. So, dito, establishing the context, no? So, dito, first, we have identification of risk in a selected domain of interest. So, dapat mag-focus lang sa mga specific area or domain, no, that is relevant to the organization's project. Siyempre, it involves yung pag-understand natin kung ano ba yung context in which the risk may arise and identifying the potential areas of concern. Second, planning the remainder of the process. So, mag-develop tayo ng mga strategic plan. For instance, for the entire risk management process, no? This includes yung outlining natin, pag-outline natin ng mga steps that will be taken, yung kung ano ba yung mga resources required, and yung timeline, no, for each phase of risk management na plano natin within our organization. So, under dito, the third naman, mapping out the following. So, first, the social scope of risk management. Dito, i-define natin yung extent to which social factors play a role in the identified domain of risk management. No? Siyempre, involves dito pag-consider natin ang impact, kunyari, ng mga societal attitudes, mga expectations, and behaviors on risk. And then, second dito, we have the identity and objectives of stakeholders. I-identify natin and understands natin yung mga key stakeholders natin involved in or affected by the selected domain within that risk management process natin. I-define natin yung mga interests, yung expectations natin, and yung mga objectives within the organization, no? Identify natin yung mga interests, expectations, and objectives ng mga stakeholders natin. Kasi yan, makakapag-influence yan siya sa perception of risk within the organization. Okay, third, the basis upon which risk will be evaluated, constraints. So, mag-establish tayo dito ng criteria for evaluating risk. Kasi basis, di ba? Dapat may criteria for evaluating risk. Siyempre, involved dito yung pag-define natin ng mga parameters, mga benchmark, no? Against sa risk, no? Against which the risk will be measured. Kasi yung criteria for evaluating risk na yan, dyan tayo magbabase kung paano natin mami-measure yung risk within the organization. Okay? Siyempre, through that, ma-identify natin yung mga constraints that may limit risk management activities within the organization. And then, sa letter D natin, makikita natin dito, defining a framework for the activity and an agenda for identification. So, dito guys, mag-establish tayo ng structured framework, no, that will guide the risk management process. Siyempre, yung framework na yan, it may include yung mga methodologies, tools, and standards, no? And then, mag-develop tayo ng mga agenda specifically for the identification phase, no? Through this, no, i-outline natin yung mga steps and activities that will be undertaken, syempre, no, to identify and assess risk. So, kung makikita natin, no, dito na, so, kung makikita natin, dito sa letter D, no, develop tayo ng agenda, no? Specifically for the identification phase, gaya ng sabi ko. And then, i-outline natin yung steps and then yung activities that will be that will be made, no? To identify and assess risk. So, syempre, through addressing these components, no, letter A to D, dito sa establishing the context, phase ng ating risk management process or process of risk management natin, 'di ba? First natin, 'di ba? Number 1, establishing the context. So address natin yung mga components na 'yan from letter A to D. Through that, yung organization natin makakapag-set sila ng stage or ng mga plans, no, for a comprehensive and well-informed risk management process within the organization. Kasi initial step ito, no, sa risk management process natin, no, enable to ensure na yung mga subsequent risk management activities natin are aligned with organizational objectives and stakeholders expectation. So number 1 pa lang yan siya sa process of risk management natin. No? Kung titingnan natin dito, mayroon pang letter E, no, sa establishing the context, no, developing an analysis of risk involved in the process. And then letter F, mitigation or solution of risk using available technological, human, and organizational resources. So dito sa letter E, no, sa pag-develop natin ng analysis of risk involved in the process, syempre mag-conduct tayo dito ng detailed analysis of the identified risk. Involved dito yung pag-assess natin yung nature, yung degree, and yung potential impact ng each risk, no, on the objective and the stakeholder. Syempre, i-utilize natin dito yung mga relevant data and information para makapag-provide tayo ng comprehensive understanding of the risk. And then lastly, sa understanding the concept, no, last na ito, no, sa letter E, yung sa establishing the context, okay, mitigation or solution of risk using available technological, human, and organizational resources. So once risks are analyzed, no, mag-develop tayo ng strategies to mitigate or manage them. So this may involve yung pag-utilize natin ng mga technological solutions, paggamit ng technology, no, pag-leverage natin ng mga human expertise within the organization, at pag-implement natin ng organizational measures to address and minimize the impact of identified risk. Okay, second, guys, no, meron tayong identification of potential risk. So, dito, sa pag-identify natin ng potential risk, syempre sa phase na ito, yung goal nito is to systematically identify the potential risk that could affect the project or the organization as a whole. So, maraming method, no, may mga various methods tayo that can be employed for risk identification. So, dito, una, meron tayong objective-based risk, no? So, dito, i-identify natin yung risk based on specific project or organizational objectives. So, yung method na ito, no, nag-focus ito sa potential threats or opportunities related to achieving the desired outcomes, since we are talking about objective-based, no? Second, letter B, we have the scenario-based risk. No, consider natin dito sa scenario-based risk yung mga scenarios, no, different scenarios, and kailangan nating i-explore yung mga potential risks associated with each scenario. So yung method na ito, no, involved dito yung pag-imagine natin ng mga different situations to uncover the risks that may not be immediately discovered. Okay, the taxonomy-based risk, no? Dito, i-classify natin yung risk based on the predefined taxonomy or classification system. So, yung approach na ito sa letter C natin, sa taxonomy-based risk, no, it involves yung pag-categorize natin ng risk into different types of groups for easier analysis and management. Okay, letter D, the common risk checking. Dito sa common risk checking, mag-use tayo ng mga historical data or industry knowledge, no, to identify common risks that are frequently encountered in similar projects or situations. So this method, no, sa common risk checking, no, tinitake advantage nito yung mga past experiences in able to anticipate yung mga potential risk. How about sa lastly dito, risk charting. So risk charting, i-visualize natin and i-map natin yung risk using techniques like kunyari yung mga matrix natin or mga chart, no. Through this risk charting, may mga graphical representations tayo na nakakatulong sa pag-prioritize ng risk based on their likelihood and impact sa organization. Okay, so last step sa risk management process natin is yung risk assessment, no? Number 3, risk assessment. So after identifying yung mga potential risk natin, the next step is to assess this risk, no? It involves yung pag-evaluate natin yung likelihood of occurrence and the potential impact of each risk on the project or organization. So, yung assessment natin, syempre, it helps prioritize yung risk natin for further action. So, by systematically identifying and assessing the risk with yung organization natin, it can proactively manage yung mga uncertainties and implement yung mga effective strategies to achieve their objectives while minimizing potential negative impact. So again, yung risk management process natin, it involves 3 steps or 3 phases, no? First, establishing the context. Second, identification of potential risk. And lastly, we have the risk assessment. Okay, now let's proceed to elements of risk management. So dito sa elements of risk management, we have 5, no? 5 elements. First, identification, characterization, and assessment of threats, no? So dito sa identification, syempre i-recognize natin and ililist natin yung mga potential threats that could pose risk to the organization's assets and operations. So involved dito yung pag-understand ng mga various forms of malicious activities and syempre yung mga events that could harm the organization. How about the characterization? No? Dito, magpo-provide tayo ng mga detailed descriptions and attributes, no, of each identified threat, including na dito yung mga methods, source, and then yung potential impact, no, ng mga threat or risk na yan. And then, lastly, assessment of threats. Evaluate natin, syempre, yung mga likelihood of each threat, no? Syempre, involved dito yung pag-analyze ng mga potential consequences and yung mga probability of the threat, no, na darating. Okay, second na element is assessment of the vulnerability of critical assets to specific threats. So dito, i-identify natin, i-analyze natin yung vulnerabilities of critical assets within the organization. Dapat ma-understand natin dito yung mga weaknesses or points of exposure, syempre, that could be exploited by the specific threat. And then, dito, no, sa number 3, determination of the risk. Example dito, the expected likelihood and the consequences of specific types of attacks on specific asset. So dito, i-assess natin yung overall risk, syempre, by combining the likelihood and the consequences of specific types of attacks on specific assets. So involved dito yung pag-quantify natin or pag-qualify natin, no, ng mga expected impact of threats on critical assets. So involved dito yung quantifying and qualifying, no, of the expected impact of threats on critical assets. Okay, and then fifth, no, last element na. Okay, prioritization of risk reduction measures based on strategy. So dito dapat mag-develop tayo ng mga strategy, no, for prioritizing risk reduction measures. So, i-consider natin yung mga factors, kunyari yung mga severity of the risk, the cost and the feasibility of the implementing mitigation measures, and yung overall impact nito sa organization. Kasi sa pag-prioritize natin ng actions, dapat i-base natin ito on different consideration, no? Ay, sa mga consideration na nabanggit kanina, no? Ano yung mga consideration? Yung severity of risk, yung cost and the feasibility of the implementing mitigation measures. So, yung mga systematic approach na yan, guys, no, ini-ensure nito yung thorough understanding of potential threats, yung vulnerabilities, and yung mga associated risks. At tinutulungan nito yung organization to develop yung mga targeted and effective strategies, no, to reduce the risk and enhance the security of critical assets. Kasi dito sa prioritization kasi, guys, ini-ensure kasi nito na dapat yung mga resources are allocated, syempre, and able to address the most significant risk. No? Dapat yun yung mauna. Yun yung first na gagawin, no, sa prioritization. No? Yung first na gagawin, sabi ko, di ba, i-ensure na yung mga resources are allocated to address the most significant risk. And then, after that, i-maximize yung overall effectiveness of the risk management process. Okay. Now, let's move on to relevant risk terminologies. First is risk associated with investment. Okay, actually na-tackle na ito no, yung mga different type of risk na ito. Familiar kayo dito no, 'di ba? About business risk, default risk, financial risk, mga interest rate risk. Okay, pero i-discuss pa rin natin to since under ito siya sa risk topic natin ngayong hapon. Okay, how? First, let's discuss the business risk, no? So, business risk refers to the uncertainty about the rate of return caused by the nature of the business. The most frequent discussed causes of business risk are uncertainty about the firm's sales and operating expenses. So, dito no, sa business risk natin, since it refers to the uncertainty about the rate of return caused by the nature of the business, syempre, it encompasses yung mga various factors no, that can impact a company's financial performance and the realization of expected returns. Kasi yung causes ng business risk natin, it most frequently discussed no, causes of business risk are uncertainty about the firm's sale and operating expenses na sinabi ko kanina. Kasi yung sales uncertainty natin, it may arise from factors such as changes in the market demand, competition, economic condition, or yung mga technological advancement. How about yung mga operating expenses uncertainty? Siyempre, it relates to the variability in cost associated with running the business, including yung raw material prices natin, labor cost, and overhead expenses. How about yung ating default risk? So sabi dito sa ating slide, it is related to the probability that some or all of the initial investment will not be returned. No? Kasi dito sa default risk, no, sabi dito, the degree of the default risk is closely related to the financial condition of the company issuing the security and the securities rank in claims on assets in the event of default or bankruptcy. So dito sa default risk natin, related ito sa probability that some or all of the initial investment in financial instrument, kunyari sa mga bond natin or sa loan natin, will not be returned. So ditong default risk natin, it is associated with the likelihood of the issuer, no, failing to meet its financial obligations, particularly, syempre, in terms of repaying yung mga principal or interest. So, ano ba yung mga factors influencing the default risk? So, yung degree of default risk, closely related ito no, sa financial condition ng isang company issuing the security. Kasi companies with a weaker financial health, diba, it is generally associated with higher default risk. Additionally guys, no, yung securities rank natin in claims on assets in the event of default or bankruptcy, crucial factor yan siya dito sa default risk natin. Kasi yung mga investors natin holding higher rank securities have a better chance syempre of recovering their investment in case of default compared to those no holding lower ranking securities. So dito no, kung makikita natin yung business risk natin, it pertains sa mga uncertainties natin inherent in the business environment affecting the overall rate of return. Siyempre, ang focus natin sa business risk kanina na nabanggit ko, di ba? Focus nito is yung sales and then yung mga operating expenses niya. On the other hand naman, dito sa default risk associated dito, yung mga probability of not receiving the expected returns on an investment, syempre, due to the financial health of the issuer, no? And yung it is due to, kunyari, yung mga securities position in claims on assets during the default or bankruptcy, no, of the issuer. So, both types of risk dito, no, kailangan titingnan natin yung mga different considerations, no, for investors and business, syempre, in managing their portfolios and financial strategies. So, ano naman yung different types of risk? Next slide. Okay, financial risk and interest rate risk. Kung titingnan natin dito, ano ba tong financial risk? So, the firm's capital structure or sources of financing determine financial risk. So, if the firm is all equity finance, then any variability in operating income is passed directly to net income on an equal percentage basis. So dito, sa definition ng financial risk natin, it is associated with firm's capital structure or sources of financing, no? Siyempre, it refers to the variability in the firm's earnings and yung mga potential impact nito on shareholders' value due to changes in its financial structure. So, ano yung impact nito sa capital structure? No? Yung capital structure kasi natin, which includes yung proportion of debt and equity financing, no? May role ito siya sa ating financial risk. Siyempre, kapag yung firm natin is all equity finance, yung any variability sa operating income natin is directly passed to net income on an equal percentage basis. So this means that the financial risk is borne entirely by the equity shareholders. So kung both na meron silang kunyari equity and debt financing, syempre yung mga potential impact nila, so yung mga risk na yan, pwedeng hatian, di ba, ng mga equity shareholders and then yung mga creditors natin. Okay, next is interest rate risk, no? Sabi dito, because money has time value, fluctuations in interest rates will cause the value of an investment to fluctuate also. Although interest rate risk is most commonly associated with bond prices movement, rising interest rates cause bond prices to decline and declining interest rate cause bond prices to rise. So movement in interest rates affect almost all investments alternatives. So dito sa interest rate risk, no, ito yung risk associated with the fluctuations in interest rates, no? Nakakapag-impact ito sa value of the financial instruments such as yung mga bonds natin, and nakaka-affect ito sa overall performance of investment. Kasi yung bond price movements natin, no, sa interest rate risk kasi, it is most commonly associated with bond price movements. So when interest rate risk or kung yung interest rate natin ay tataas, if it will rise, 'di ba? The bond prices, it will decline, no? Kasi kung yung interest rates naman natin magbababa or it will fall, yung bond prices natin, it will rise. So, kanya, no, kung yung bond prices natin tataas, yung interest rates natin tataas, yung bond prices natin bababa. At kapag yung interest rates natin bababa, yung bond prices natin, it will rise, no? Meron, kung titingnan natin, may inverse relationship ito, no? Yung interest rates natin doon sa bond prices natin. Kasi fundamental yan siya to understand yung interest rate risk natin in the bond market. Okay, no? Again, yung sabi ko nga, 'di ba? Kasi dito kasi sa ating interest rate risk, gaya ng sabi ko, may inverse relationship, no? Yung ating bond and yung interest rate. So, paano ba natin yan ma-explain in a simple term, no? Yung inverse relationship na yan ng ating interest rate risk in the bond market. So, gaya ng sabi ko kanina. So, kung titignan natin, 'di ba, sa isang bond, kapag yung investor natin, mag-purchase yan sila ng bond, usually, makakapag-receive yan sila ng periodic coupon payments, 'di ba, from the issuer. So, may monthly payments siya together with the principal and the interest. For instance, no, it will represent yung fixed percentage of the bond's face value. So, yung interest rate ng bond natin, yan yung rate of return ng investors natin na na-earn niya sa kanyang investment, considering that both the coupon payments and the bonds purchase price, no? So, since yung bond prices natin and yung interest rate natin have an inverse relationship, so when the bonds price rises or mag-increase siya, syempre yung interest rate niya, it will fall, no? Vice versa yan siya. Kasi yung relationship niya yan, it is due to the fact na yung fixed coupon payments natin remain constant over the bond's life. So, therefore, kapag yung investor natin, di ba, magbayad siya ng mas malaki kaysa doon sa face value ng bonds, syempre yung effective yield or effective interest rate na marireceive nila from the bond, it will decrease, no? So, through that, no, if they pay less than the face value nung bond na yon, syempre, yung effective interest niya, it will increase. Kaya nga, yan yung meron silang inverse relationship. Kasi yung interest rates kasi natin, may effect yan siya sa bond natin. Okay? Intindihan? So, kung titingnan natin itong financial risk natin and interest rate risk, no? Yung financial risk natin, tied yan siya sa firm's capital structure and sources of financing, no? Na through that, no, ma-determine yung fluctuation in operating income that will impact the net income and the shareholder value. Kasi yung financing natin may be debt or equity financing. Pero yung interest rate risk kasi natin, it is associated with the impact of the changes in the interest rates on the value of the financial instruments like yung bonds na explanation ko kanina. And syempre, may iba't ibang investment alternatives pa, no, which particularly focus doon sa bond price movements natin. So, these both types of risk, no, critical yon na i-consider natin for financial management and investment decision making. Okay, next we have liquidity risk. Okay, so liquidity risk, no? Risk associated with the uncertainty created by the inability to sell the investment quickly for cash, no? So, dito sa liquidity risk, syempre, it refers to the uncertainty and the potential loss associated with the inability to quickly sell the investment for cash, no? Without causing yung, kunyari, mga significant impact on its price, no? Kasi, yung liquidity risk natin, no, it is measured on how easily an asset or security can be converted into cash without affecting its market price adversely in the future. So, dito, dapat may investor's consideration tayo dito, no? Where, kunyari, yung investor natin, they plan to sell an investment for future consumption or meet financial needs. So, may mga key uncertainties yan silang mai-encounter. Siyempre, kunyari, yung sales price uncertainty ng investor. So, dun sa investment niya, may uncertainty kasi yan siya regarding the price at which the investment can be sold. And then, yung second uncertainty natin, yung time to sell uncertainty. Kasi yung uncertainty na ito, it's about time it will take to sell the asset. So, for example, no, sa isang company, may illiquid asset siya. Kunyari yung asset niya, house, no? May bahay siya, no, sa isang lugar. So, dito, gusto niyang ibenta yung bahay niya quickly. So, yung expected price niya may be challenging, syempre, due to limited pool of potential buyers ng bahay na yan. So, dapat, marami siyang titignan dyan na consideration lang. Like yung time and price consideration niya, pwede yung mga market condition. Since yung asset is illiquid asset, no? Illiquid asset, hindi illiquid asset, no? Kasi hindi siya madaling mabenta, kasi yung bahay hindi siya, 'di ba, agad-agad ma-convert into cash, no? So, limited lang yung activity, no? Limited lang yung activity natin kung sa mga bahay yung ibebenta natin kasi hindi siya madaling mabenta. So, mas mataas yung liquidity risk nito. Unlike yung, yung mga receivables natin, 'di ba? Yung mga cash natin, cash in bank, receivables. So, madali lang ma-turn into cash. Unlike dito sa ating mga real properties, it is really difficult to turn it into cash. So, mataas yung liquidity risk. Kasi dito, no, paano ba natin ma-manage yung liquidity risk natin? Kasi essential yan siya sa mga investors and mga businesses natin to ensure na dapat ma-meet nila yung kanilang financial obligations, lalong-lalo na yung mga short-term obligations nila, no? Dapat i-take advantage nila yung investment opportunities when needed. So, dapat involve nila yung pag-balance nila ng desire nila for higher return with the need for liquidity kasi consider nila yung mga potential trade-offs between the two kasi hindi pwede na yung asset mo puro mga real estate yan pero wala kang cash on hand. Tapos ngayon may mangjuju ka na mga babayaran, yung mga short-term obligations mo, anong ipangbabayad mo kung puro real properties yung ari-arian mo dyan? 'di ba? So dapat i-consider mo yung trade-off between the two. Okay? How about management risk? So, decisions made by a firm's management and the board of directors materially affect the risk faced by investors. Areas affected by these decisions range from product innovation and production methods, no, like business risk and financing or financial risk to acquisitions. So, dito sa management risk definition natin, yung risk natin, it involves how decisions made by a company's leader impact the investors of the organization or of the business. So imagine nyo na lang if you invest in a technology company, and then yung management natin, they decides to focus on outdated products instead na mag-invest sila sa mga new technologies. So yung decision ng management na yan, it could lead to a decline in the company's competitiveness, no, in the future. Syempre, makaka-affect yan siya sa iyong investment in that technology company negatively. Diba? For instance na lang, balikan natin yung mga Nokia products. 'Di ba? So, hindi sila nag-decide na mag-invest sa mga Android. Hindi sila nag-innovate. So, yung investment mo doon sa tech company na 'yan, na Nokia, Motorola, and ano pa yung mga companies na 'yan na nawala na ngayon. So, syempre naapektuhan yung investment mo sa decision na 'yan ng management, especially the board of directors, no, of the corporation or of the business. Okay. How about the purchasing power risk? Purchasing power risk is perhaps more difficult to recognize than the other types of risk. It is easy to observe the decline in the price of a stock or bond, but it is often more difficult to recognize that the purchasing power of the return you have earned on an investment has declined or risen as a result of inflation or deflation. So dito sa purchasing power risk, no, ito yung risk natin na nakarelate ito sa mga potential loss of value in your investments. Syempre, due to changes in inflation or deflation. For instance na lang, no, if you invest 1 million pesos in a bond with a 3% return, so kapag yung inflation natin is 4%, so your purchasing power effectively decreases because yung return natin doesn't keep up with the rising prices. So even though you earn 3% return, yung real value of your money, syempre, mag-decline yan due to inflation. So dapat ma-understand natin at ma-manage natin yung risk, no? Risk na yan, no? Under the purchasing power risk. Kasi important yan, no, to make informed decisions about their investment, about the investment, your investment in a business. Okay, second, no? Second sa ating relevant risk terminologies under the risk associated with manufacturing, trading, and service concerns. So, meron tayong market risk dito. Under the market risk, we have the product risk. First, we have the product risk. So, before that, ano ba yung market risk, guys? No, yung market risk natin, ito yung risk that external factors, no, that can affect the overall market, impacting yung value ng ating investment. For example, if you invest in the stock market and there is a sudden economic downturn, so the value of your stocks may decrease due to the general market condition. No, yan yung market risk natin. So under the market risk, meron tayong product risk. So yung product risk natin, ito yung risk associated with the success or failure of a particular product or service. For instance na lang, mag-invest tayo sa new smartphone company. It involves product risk. If consumers don't like the features of that product, no, ng smartphone mo, so, or if may mga technical issues sa nirelease mo na smartphone, syempre, yung product na yan, it may fail in the market. So, may product risk tayo. So, under dito sa product risk natin, may complexity, obsolescence, research and development, packaging, and delivery warranties. No? Kasi dito, yung risk associated, no, with the success or failure of a particular product natin, syempre, may kasali dyan yung complexity, no? Siyempre, depende yan sa complicated business process, yung structures ng ating product. So, kunyari, yung company natin, may complex organizational structure siya. It may face yung mga challenges in communication, sa decision making, yung mga potential leading potential na makapag-lead sa mga inefficiencies during the production, no? How about obsolescence? Siyempre yung risk ng product or technology natin na maging outdated siya. Siyempre kung outdated yung product, malulus yung relevance niya sa market. Kunyari, nag-invest ka sa company na nag-produce ng mga tapes, mga CDs, ganyan. Siyempre ngayon, nasa digital streaming na tayo, era na tayo. So, yung risk of obsolescence sa mga CDs na yan, di ba? Meron talaga. Kasi naging obsolete na yung mga CDs, mga VHS. And then sa research and development naman, syempre yung risk associated with investing in the development of the new products or technologies. For instance, may isang pharmaceutical companies, no, mag-invest siya sa development of new na gamot, no. It may face risk, no, that it may not receive regulatory approval or may not perform as expected in the market. How about yung packaging natin? Yung risk dito related on how the product is presented and packaged for consumers or customers natin. Kasi yung, kunyari, may isang food company, nag-change siya ng packaging in a way na hindi siya appealing sa kanyang mga customers. So, it may impact yung product sales ng company. How about delivery of warranties, no? Ito yung risk dito associated, syempre, yung company's ability to fulfill the warranty promise to customers. So, kapag yung company nag-promise ng 3-year warranty on its electronic products, but that company fail, no, to provide timely and effective support, so it may damage yung company's reputation and the customer trust. Okay? Second, we have the competitor risk, no? Kasi dito sa competitor risk, siyempre yung risk of losing the market share or profitability due to actions taken by the competitors. So for example, yung isang smartphone company, kapag may competitor risk, yung rival niya nag-release ng similar product at lower price, potentially attracting yung customers, no? Customers na currently meron ka. So there's a tendency, pwede silang lumipat. So kasali siya sa competitors risk. How about sa pricing strategy under the competitors risk, no? Dito yung risk associated with how the company sets the prices of its products or services. Kung yung luxury car company suddenly reduces yung prices niya significantly, so it might dilute yung brand's perceived value, no, sa kanyang mga customer. And then, sa market share naman, ito yung risk associated, syempre, sa company's portion of total sales in a given market. So, kapag yung company, nawala niya yung market share niya to a competitor with a better product, no, with a better product quality, syempre, it may receive or experience yung mga decline in overall sales and revenue. And then, how about the market strategy? Yung risk associated, syempre, with the overall plan, no, ng isang company that adapts to achieve its business objectives in the market. So, nyari, may isang retail company tayo, nag-focus siya solely sa in-store sales, no, at inignore niya yung online channels niya. So, when consumers are increasingly shopping online, anong mangyayari? No, syempre, malulose niya yung significant portion of the market. So, dapat i-understand natin kung paano natin mamamanage yung risk, no, dito. How about sa operation risk? Okay? Sa operation risk naman, we have the process stoppage. No, dito sa process stoppage, yung risk ng company's operations natin that may be interrupted or halted, no, na makaka-apekto yan siya sa production. Example, sa isang manufacturing plant, naka-face siya ng process stoppage risk, no? Kapag, kunyari, nag-breakdown yung machine na ginagamit nila, syempre, it will lead sa temporary stoppage of the production. And then, sa health and safety naman, yung risk associated with the well-being of the employees and potential impacts on operations, no? Dito health and safety, operations risk. Siyempre, yung apektado dito, yung empleyado. So, may tendency, failure to adhere doon sa mga safety protocols, no, ng isang construction company. Siyempre, it may lead to accidents, injuries, and work stoppages. How about after sales service failure? Yung risk na yung company natin, they may fail to provide satisfactory support or service after selling the product. Kasi, kunyari, may isang company na nag-sell ng electronics, so hindi siya nag-provide ng effective after-sales service or support sa kanyang product. So, it may result in dissatisfied customers. So, yung environmental risk dito under the operations risk natin. Ito yung mga risk related sa company's impact to the environment, syempre, na kasi there's a potential legal no or reputational consequences regarding sa environment. So, dapat sundin mo kung ano yung nasa batas, no? Ano yung mga government regulations regarding environment. Siyempre, yung isang manufacturing company, makakapag-face siya sa environmental risk, no, kapag na-fail siya to comply with environmental regulations, no, leading to fines or, siyempre, malaki yung mga penalties, di ba? Or negative publicity. So, dahil nga nakasuhan siya or na social media siya, so it may lead to social or negative publicity, no, yung environmental risk natin. How about technological obsolescence, di ba? Parang nabanggit ko rin yan kanina doon sa nauna, pero under ito siya sa operation risk naman ito. Siyempre, yung risk na yung company natin, yung company's technology natin becomes outdated, no? Impacting yung competitiveness niya. So, ngayon, kunyari, yung sa mga factory, computerized na, naka-machine na, pero ikaw manumano pa. So, it will affect your operation. No, may technological obsolescence. Okay, how about integrity? Under dito, the management fraud, employee fraud, and illegal acts, no? So, dito sa management fraud na, siyempre sa integrity, no, yung risk associated with the honesty and yung ethical behavior ng ating employees and management. So, familiar kayo dito sa management fraud. Ito yung risk na yung mga top executives natin engage siya sa mga deceptive practices or personal gain. Usually, binabago nila yung financial statements ng company. So, under yan siya sa management fraud. Yung i-manipulate niya yung financial statement to inflate the profits and stock prices, no? So, under yan siya, management fraud. How about employee fraud? Yung risk na yung employee natin, they will engage in dishonest activities that could harm the company. Example na lang, yung employee natin, mag-embezzle siya ng funds or mag-steal siya ng mga inventory, mga bond paper, ballpen dyan, or kung ano-ano pang inventory dyan sa iyong bodega. So, may risk dyan ng employee frauds. How about illegal acts, no? Ito yung risk associated with the company or its employees engaging in unlawful activities, no? Kunyari, sa yung isang company, nag-involve siya sa money laundering or bribery. So, under yan siya sa illegal acts. May legal consequences yan and syempre, may reputational damage. And then, we also have financial risk, no? Letter C na tayo. So, under the financial risk, we have the interest rates volatility. So, yung definition dito sa interest rates volatility, no? Ito yung risk that fluctuations in interest rates may impact the cost of borrowing or the returns on investment. For instance, yung company natin, nag-borrow siya at a variable interest rates. Siyempre, they may face mga financial challenges if the interest rates suddenly rise. How about the foreign currency risk? Diba? Yung risk associated, syempre, with the changes in exchange rates, no? That will impact yung value ng ating foreign investments or yung transactions natin, lalo sa mga import and exportations of goods. Okay? Kunyari, may isang multinational company, no? Nag-face siya ng foreign currency risk kapag may sudden depreciation of the foreign currency price, no? Pag ma-reduce yung value ng kanyang overseas profit. So, about liquidity risk, no? Under this financial risk. So, yung risk dito na yung company natin that they may face difficulty in meeting its short-term financial obligations. For instance na lang, kapag yung company, they cannot quickly convert its assets into cash to cover immediate expenses, no? The company may face yung ating liquidity risk. How about derivative, no? Dito yung risk associated, syempre, doon sa financial instruments, no? Like mga derivatives natin, that derive their value from underlying assets. For instance, yung isang company, nag-engage siya sa complex derivative transactions. So, through that, yung company natin, they may expose you sa mga financial losses if market conditions move unfavorably, no, sa ating transaction. How about sa viability? Ito yung risk related sa long-term sustainability and success ng ating company business model, no? Kapag yung company natin, no, nandoon siya sa declining industry, syempre, they may face viability risk, no? If it fails to adapt and innovate, no? May risk siya ng obsolescence, no? In the long run. Okay, and lastly, we have the business risk. So, under the business risk, No, we have the regulatory change. So dito, yung risk that changes in laws and regulations, syempre it may impact the company's operations and profitability. Kapag yung government natin nag-introduce siya ng new environmental regulations, no? For instance, yung manufacturing company, they may face increased compliance costs, no? And syempre may mga potential changes in its processes. And then how about reputation political? Ito yung risk associated with how the public perceives the company. No? It can affect syempre yung brand and customers' trust. For example, yung company natin involved siya sa scandal or unethical behavior. Syempre, it may experience a decline in its reputations, no, leading to customer distrust and lower sales. And then, how about dito? Sa ating regulatory and legal, no? Dito yung risk associated with legal actions or regulatory non-compliance. So dapat sumunod ka kung ano yung nasa batas, no? Para hindi ka magkaroon ng risk under the regulatory and legal risk. Okay, how about shareholders relations? Ito yung risk related syempre sa pag-maintain natin ng positive relationship with our shareholders and addressing their concern. Example na lang dito, kapag yung company natin, they consistently underperforms, so they may face yung mga shareholders relation risk as investors express dissatisfaction, no? And syempre, yung mga potentially na push for changes in leadership. How about credit rating? Dito may risk, there's a tendency na may risk na yung company credit worthiness natin may be downgraded. Syempre, kapag ma-downgrade yung ating credit worthiness or credit rating natin, it might affect no yung ability natin to borrow at favorable terms sa isang company, sa isang bangko, sa isang organization. So example na lang yung company natin. So meron tayong deteriorating financial performance, no? It may face yung risk of credit rating downgrade kasi nga hindi ka nakakapagbayad ng on time, di ba? So nakikita nila na ganyan na yung nangyayari sa iyo. Syempre, 'di ba? Higher risk ka para sa mga nagpapautang. So ang mangyayari diyan, bibigyan ka nila next time na magbabaro ka ng higher borrowing cost. Syempre, mas mataas na interest kasi nga there's a tendency na malulugi ka in the future. So babawiin ka nila yan through interest. Okay, how about capital availability? So this is the risk that a company may have difficulty obtaining the necessary funds, no, for operations or expansion. So for instance, sa may economic downturn, no, yung isang bangko, they may become more conservative in lending, no, sa kanilang sa mga umuutang sa kanila. Syempre, through that, no, there's a risk, no, na yung company's ability natin, no, to secure capital for projects. Okay, how about business interruptions? Ito yung risk na may mga unexpected events, no, or disasters that may disrupt yung normal business operations natin. So pwede dito sa business interruptions yung mga natural disasters natin like earthquakes, floods, no, that can lead to business interruptions. Siyempre, business interruptions may be made by man-made or natural calamity. Okay. Okay, third, we have risk associated with financial institutions. So, kung makikita natin dito, we have financial and non-financial. So, under the meron tayong liquidity risk, market risk, meron siyang currency, equity, commodity. So, sa financial, we have liquidity risk, market risk, credit risk, market liquidity risks, hedge position risk, portfolio exposure risk, derivative risk, accounting information risk, and financial reporting risk. And then sa non-financial naman, we have operational risk, regulatory risk, environmental risk, integrity risk, and leadership risk. Okay, ano naman yung mga potential risk treatment natin stated by ISO 31000, no? Dito, meron tayong risk avoidance, no? This includes performing an activity that could carry risk. So, example natin dito, an example would be not buying property or business in order not to take on the legal liability that comes with it. So, dito sa risk avoidance, guys, no, it is about choosing not to engage in an activity that carries potential risk, syempre, to avoid yung mga associated negative consequences. So, kunyari, mag-decide tayo not to purchase a property or business to avoid taking on the legal liabilities and potential risks associated with ownership. How about risk reduction naman? Or optimization involves reducing the severity of the loss or the likelihood of the loss from occurring. Optimizing risk means finding balance between the negative risk and the benefit of the operation or activity and between risk reduction and effort applied. So dito sa risk reduction natin, syempre nagtitake measures tayo to lessen the severity of potential losses or decrease the likelihood of those losses na mag-occur. So involved dito yung pag-find natin ng balance between the risk and benefits ng isang activity. For instance na lang, no, mag-implement tayo ng mga safety measures sa isang manufacturing plant. Kunyari, pag-install natin ng safety equipment and pag-provide natin ng employee training, enable to reduce the likelihood of the accidents and injuries. Therefore, mami-minimize natin yung potential losses. So, dito, no, sa risk avoidance natin, it means, no, na ini-steer natin or ikini-clear natin yung activities that could lead to problems. While yung risk reductions natin involves yung taking actions to make those activities less risky. So, both approaches, no, yung risk avoidance natin and risk reduction, ito yung mga approaches that will aim to protect our organization against yung mga negative outcomes natin. Siyempre, they differ in strategies. One is about avoiding the risk altogether, no? And then the other by minimizing its impact or likelihood. So, yung avoiding the risk altogether, syempre yung risk avoidance yan siya. While the minimizing its impact and likelihood, no, ng risk natin, yan yung risk reduction. Okay. How about risk sharing? So, dito, risk sharing means sharing with another party the burden of loss or the benefit of gain from a risk and the measures to reduce risk. So, dito sa risk sharing natin, no, sinishare natin yung burden, no, ng ating potential losses or gains with another party along with the measures to reduce our risk. So dito sa risk sharing example natin, kunyari sa isang joint venture, may dalawang company na mag-share sila ng risk and rewards, no, sa isang particular project. So if there is financial loss or gain, it is distributed, no, between the collaborating parties, no, between the two companies. How about risk retention? It involves accepting the loss or the benefit of gain from a risk when it occurs. Self-insurance falls in this category. All risks that are not avoided are transferred or retained by default. So dito, i-accept natin yung mga consequences, whether losses or gains ba yan, resulting from a risk. So this can involve yung, sabi nga dito kanina sa definition natin, it can involve yung self-insurance or default acceptance of risk, no, not avoided or transfer. For instance, yung company natin, nag-decide siya na mag-purchase ng insurance, no, for a particular risk. Enable to lessen, no, the burden of the financial impact directly, no, through that insurance. Kasi hindi yan maiwasan talaga, hindi naman natin maiwasan na may kasunog. Hindi naman natin yan maiwasan na bumaha or kung ano mang mga natural disaster na yan. Isang company. So, kunan mo na agad ng insurance, di ba? Kasi ina-accept mo nga there's a tendency na mangyayari talaga yan. So, kukuha ka ng insurance. Kasi through insurance, syempre, involve yan ng setting aside ng funds natin to cover potential losses. So, dito, no, sa risk sharing natin, syempre, involves dito yung pag-divide ng mga potential impact of risk with another party. While yung risk retention natin means na inaccept na natin yung mga consequences of risk on your own, either by choice or default ba yan. No? So, yan yung ating risk sharing or risk retention. Okay, how about areas of risk management, no? So the most commonly encountered areas of risk management includes enterprise risk management, no? Risk management activities as applied to project management, risk management or mega projects, risk management of information technology, risk management techniques in petroleum and natural gas. So, dito, no, yung mga areas of risk management involves, no, in specific approaches, syempre, it tailored to different contexts such as yung across an entire organization, like yung ERM natin, enterprise risk management natin, so, or within individual projects, or for large and complex projects, like yung mga mega projects natin. So, dito, yung mga information in technology and yung mga information in industries like petroleum and natural gas, no, so, each area dito, no, each area addresses yung mga unique challenges and requires yung mga tailored risk management techniques and able to ensure yung success and resilience ng ating organization. How about SEC requirements relative to enterprise risk management of publicly listed companies? So according to the SEC, Code of Governance Recommendations 2.11 and corresponding explanation provide the following. The board should oversee that a sound enterprise risk management framework is in place to effectively identify, monitor, assess, and manage key business risks. The risk management framework should guide the board in identifying units, business lines, and enterprise level risk exposures as well as the effectiveness of risk management strategies. So dito, si board ang mag-oversee ng ating enterprise risk management framework within an organization. Okay, under naman sa Principle 12, which deals with the strengthening of the internal control system and enterprise risk management framework, states that to ensure the integrity, transparency, and proper governance in the conduct of its affairs, the company should have a strong and effective internal control system and enterprise risk management framework. So, hindi na natin to siya isa-isa guys, kasi nga, na-discuss na natin ito in the first 4 chapters ng ating materials, 'di ba? Under the SEC Code of Corporate Governance. Kasi yung Principle 12 natin, no, ini-emphasize dito na yung company natin na dapat i-maintain niya yung integrity, transparency, and good governance in its operations. So, kailangan, essential dito yung robust internal control and yung enterprise risk management system natin. Okay, sabi dito, risk management framework. The board should oversee that a sound enterprise risk management framework is in place to effectively identify, monitor, assess, and manage key business risks. The risk management framework should be guide the board in identifying units, business lines, and enterprise level risk exposures as well as the effectiveness of risk management strategies. Okay, now, what are the steps in risk management process? So, dito, first, we should set up separate risk management committee chaired by the board. Second, ensure that a formal comprehensive risk management system is in place. Third, assess whether the formal system possesses the necessary elements. Fourth, evaluate the effectiveness of the various steps in the assessment of the comprehensive risk faced by the business firm. Fifth, assess if the management has developed and implemented the suitable risk management strategies and evaluate their effectiveness. Sixth, evaluate if management has designed and implemented risk management capabilities. Seventh, assess management's effort to monitor overall company risk management performance and to improve continuously the firm's capabilities. 8. See to it that the best practices as well as mistakes are shared by all. This involves regular communication of results and feedback to all concerned. 9th, assess regularly the level of sophistication of the firm's risk management system. And lastly, hire experts when needed. Okay, so that's the end of our discussion this afternoon, guys.